All right. So today we're here with Anthony Becht, who I'm proud to say is a fellow WVU Mountaineer. Was that an audience? Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was clapping
Mountaineer
my
Maniacs. Mountaineer Maniacs in Florida. Anthony Becht is a former NFL tight end who has, let's just say, a lot of things going on after his NFL career. So, Anthony, if you're more than willing, let's jump right into it.
Let's do it.
I'll be honest. You look like you're having a whole lot of fun right now. Are you having a lot of fun right now post football? Is that possible to be having as much fun as you're having right now?
Well, I'm having fun, and it's work. I want to really be in the radio, TV industry, within sports. I really, find it fascinating. I really feel like I have good content to put out there, great opinions, and I just want to share them and be a part of it. And there's a lot of competition. There's not many jobs. That you got the major networks and you got the networks within each city that I have a tie with. But I'm trying to link on and latch on to those big the big five, I guess, or the big four networks, and see if I can get that chance. And if I get those opportunities, I'm going to make the most of it. I love talking about football. I love talking about sports. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, it's Anthony_Becht. I'm into basketball, golf, baseball. I try to talk about everything along with current events and any other topics that I might have an opinion on. But anything going on in sports, I'm readily available. And I love Twitter as a platform, but I like to use some other platforms here as far as radio and TV to really reach out to my fan base and everybody that's been connected me over the last 20 years of my athletic playing career.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, let's start in those teenage years. Let's go all the way back to, is it Western PA?
Yeah, it's
the Cradle. What
it's
was
actually
that like?
Well, it's Philly. It's the Philadelphia area, Eastern
Okay.
PA. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about where I West Virginia. Obviously, that's not Western PA, but it's in that area over there, in the northern plateaus of West Virginia. But definitely, I grew up in Philadelphia. Born and raised in Drexel Hill, a little suburbia town right outside the city. Went to an all-Catholic grade school, all-Catholic boys high school, Monsignor Bonner High School. Great times in my career. Played a ton of sports. I was a basketball player also. I did track. I went out for the tennis team, made the tennis team, and quit. I just wanted to see if I could make it, and I did. Football wasn't my best sport. Baseball was my love and my passion. When I was 13, I played in the Babe Ruth World Series. We lost in the championship to California. I was a catcher, and I thought that's kind of where maybe I would have a chance to at least go to college and play baseball. When I got to high school, football, I liked it. I didn't have the size. I was a shorter guy. I didn't get a lot of love my freshman year. Couldn't really touch the field. I was a tailback coming out of grade school. A pretty good one, too. I always thought I was, the Barry Sanders of the CYO, the Catholic League Youth Organization Football League. But, it just, when you go to high school, that was the big step. Everybody comes to the high school. All the great players are there. I moved to wide receiver. I wasn't a great guy catching the ball. So it took me a time to get on the field. Sophomore year, junior year, sophomore year of high school. Again, JV team. Couldn't really touch the field. Wasn't a starter. Continued to work. Again, was playing baseball, basketball, trying to keep all these sports, and stay involved. Finally, my junior year, I had a big growth spurt. I was 6'4". I didn't gain any weight, though. I was about 175 pounds dripping wet. So I was labeled the tight end, but I wasn't starting. There was a senior in front of me. So it was going to be hard for me to touch the field my junior year. And as we got onto that first, it wasn't a preseason game. It was a scrimmage before the season started. The starting tight end broke his leg, the senior. And I got plugged in. I caught like 8 balls in that scrimmage. And the rest is history. After that, the next year, I put on a whopping 10 more pounds to 185 pounds. And from there, I had a great senior year. I was all Philly, all city, all Catholic League, all county. I wasn't all state. I thought I should have been, but I wasn't. And it's hard to compete with them Western PA kids that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, those Western PA kids.
Exactly. So
now let's transition to Now you played under Don Nealon, correct?
I did, yeah. Yep.
What was that like coming to college? And like you said, I mean, you're playing tight end. You know, your last couple of years, you were listed at what, 270? Let's just say a healthy
Yep.
260 plus. What
Yeah.
was that like going into college, knowing that A, you're gonna have to compete. B, you're gonna have to, let's just say, put on weight. And C, be a student. What was that like?
Well, the student part was easy. I'd always had good grades, and I stayed on top of it. I knew it was important. Obviously, once I got to college, I didn't want to let my parents down academically, and I just wanted to carry myself in that sort of a manner. Football wise, I remember when I sat in his office when they were recruiting me, and they weren't heavily recruiting me. I was very late in the process, and I was lucky to get a scholarship for them. I remember the words coming out of his mouth, and he said, "Listen, the tight end that we wanted and verbally agreed decided to go somewhere else." And he said, "We have one scholarship left. You're a little frail right now, but we think if you work hard, get yourself in the gym, you might be able to help us your junior and senior year, and you can be a productive player for our team." And I didn't hear any of that, really. I was just excited for the fact that he wanted me to be a Mountaineer. So I took that. That was my window of opportunity. I speak about that all the time to the kids when I'm around them. It's about the windows of opportunity we get. Some are smaller and some are bigger than others. But you got to find a way to get through it, and I did. Once I started to get to West Virginia, I started hitting the weight room. I wasn't really doing that in high school. When the training table, the eating. I remember my freshman year at the dorms at West Virginia. Me and my roommate next door, we would order a pizza next door, $5 pizza, $2.50 a piece. We'd split it, and we'd have half a pizza every single day during the week, just to put weight on. I was trying to put weight on any way I could, because in my mind I was like, let me just put mass on, and I can just mold it out if I'm working hard in the gym. And that's what I did, So over the years, I was 15 more pounds, 15 more pounds, 15 more pounds. And by the time I got into my junior, senior year, I was a starter. I became a pass threat. I was catching touchdowns. I was known for, I was putting weight on. I excelled in the weight room, in the classroom. And then all of a sudden, going into my senior year, my name was in all the magazines, as far as the top tight ends coming out. So it was pretty exciting for me. It was a great run. It was a great way to take advantage of an opportunity that, really, Coach Don Nealon wasn't expecting much, in return from day one.
That's great. That's great. Now, you went from being lightly recruited to getting a scholarship to being one of the best tight ends in the country. Did you redshirt at all, or was it 4 years?
I did, yeah. I redshirted my first year, and got to play 4 seasons after that to develop. I mean, being undersized weight-wise, I needed that extra year.
So let's just say in less than 5 years, you completely changed your body and you completely changed your athletic outlook by just hard work, discipline, commitment, and it seems a lot of pizza.
Yeah, anything.
Now, going into the draft, tell us about that process, because I know that we know that the Jets had 4 picks. And we know that you were one of the better tight ends coming out that year. What was that like? What was there at the end of your senior year? Was it like, man, who's gonna get me, or what do I have to do, or I know I'm the best, come get me? What was it like?
By the end of my senior year, there were basically me and Bubba Franks from Miami. We played against each other our whole careers in the Big East. We were the 1-2. He was 1, I was 2. I was 1, he was 2. Probably halfway through the league. And it was a process. I wasn't labeled a first-round draft pick right after my senior season, but I was the second-rated tight end coming out. So there was some work to be put in still. And I went to the Senior Bowl. That was the first process. And I went there, and I really had some excellent practices. Went against some of the top-tier linebackers, names that were big coming out in that draft. Keith Bullocks, Julian Peterson. These guys were all first-round draft pick. Brandon Short, linebacker from Penn State. One-on-one battles against these guys and doing well against them propelled my status. And then after that, it was the combine. Went to the combine. I knew all the drills. It was before the times that players actually knew what was going on. It was this big secret. We had inside scoop from the scout that was a friend of my agent of all the drills and the tricks. And, I was able to practice those things. And when I got to the combine, I really had some great time. Didn't run my 40 or bench. I did that on my pro day, but all those things propelled me to get me where I need to go. And then obviously my pro day, went out there. I had all the tight end coaches were there and had a great pro day. And by the end of that pro day, having clocked, I think I clocked a 4.69 by the Jets on their hand clock at 270 pounds that year. That was pretty much the cincher. And it was basically who was going to be the team. And as that process went and I started visiting teams, I knew Bill Parcells was a fan. He had me rated ahead of Bubba Franks, and he told me that they were going to draft me at one of those 4 picks, more than likely the 3rd of those 4 picks. But, the way it panned out, I ended up being the 4th of those first-round picks because Pennington was the wild card that came available to them where everyone thought he was going to be going to the Steelers or the 49ers. So I always keep telling Chad he owes me about $4.5 million at some point to get that money back to replace it. But, listen, I could have went to the Packers at 14. I know Ron Wolf had me, I know most of his staff had me rated above Bubba, and Ron Wolf was persistent on trying to prove them wrong, even worked them out, from what I heard, worked them out 2 days before the draft again just to get another look at him, and they ended up obviously taking him, and he had a great career. So we both panned out having good careers, and I played a little longer, but a great run. I played with some great organizations and some great cities and markets and fans, and it was a great run.
So what are some of the things that you learned about being a professional, being an adult in the NFL? I mean, we all get to see, look at their contract, or he didn't catch that, or he did catch that. What are some of the things that you learned playing ball, being around older guys who, to be very honest, are household names, guys who have made Lord knows how many millions of dollars? What did you learn about Anthony Becht, and what did you learn about being a pro, and what insight did it give you into what you can achieve for yourself?
Well, first and foremost, I had great leaders, in New York when I first got there. I mean, on one side of me in the locker room, I had Wayne Corbett. On the other side, I had Vinny Testaverde. Fred Baxter was the vet tight end that was there. And some of these guys, like a Fred Baxter, I'm sure after a guy gets drafted in the first round at the same position as you, will probably be a real rough around the edges. But you know what? I embraced him. He fed me a lot of knowledge. Vinny Testaverde is one of my best friends now, lives down here with me in Tampa. I still pick his brain. And these guys taught me the road, taught me the ins and outs, how to be a pro, the work ethic, every single year, being the first guy in the meeting, being up front, preparing myself as if I wasn't the starter, even though I knew I was going to be the starter. Never taking a year or a play or a season for granted, and knowing that nothing was ever going to be given to me the year after, and you had to earn it in the off season and dedicate yourself and sacrifice and take the time and do the extra things. And I wasn't afraid to go to these guys and learn. How do I watch tape? What am I looking at? Go to coaches. And people would say, you're kissing butt. It wasn't that. I wanted to be the best and get better. There was always a coaching mentality that, they were always kind of afraid to tell you the truth. I just wanted guys to tell me the truth, good or bad. I just thought I could, get better because of it. Some guys didn't know how to handle constructive criticism. I was a guy that wanted to hear it and embraced it. And, rarely did I ever make the same mistake twice. And I think as I grew, it developed me as a, guy to put my head down, churn, work, blue-collar mentality, went out there, played hard, played tough. I understood how to play with injuries, how to play through injuries, how to be smart, which injuries were ones that you could play with on the field, which ones I could play with on the field. I had a string of 58 straight games where I never missed a game, but I had MCL injuries, I had elbow issues, I had ankles. These are things that were going on that, guys or myself should have probably missed games for, but I understood how to, get that mindset. Guys like Curtis Martin, who played with injuries that people wouldn't even imagine. I remember sitting next to him, and we had similar MCL injuries. His was a higher grade than mine. I remember when they used to jiggle his knee, and the thing would just jiggle, and it had no, there was nothing there to really, keep it tight, and they would wrap it up, put him in a brace, and this guy would go out and rush for 125 yards, and I know that thing was popping and jiggering around and everything, and I just looked up to him. I was like, wow, this is toughness, this is greatness, and he's a Hall of Famer, and those are the things that I looked at to be great, and and as I got to be older, that's the things that I tried to pass on in this ever-growing, changing league. It's at different times now, and things are different, but the things, the tangible things were still there to pass on to young guys.
Now, from what you said just about when you first got into the league, Wayne Corbett on one side, Vinny Testaverde over on this side, Fred Baxter pouring into you, you asking coaches, hey, what can I work on? How can I run this route better? How do I watch film? Seems to me that you're pretty good at building a relationship where you can ask a question and get not always a direct answer, but you know how to build a relationship. How do you go about doing that?
Well, I'll tell you this. I can honestly say that within the realm of the game of football and all the coaches and players and some guys, might not have been, I was very, had good connection with as far as, maybe they were saying some things about me or maybe they didn't like the way I did something. I never burned a bridge. I always was straight edge, straight out. I always, kept it real with everybody. I wasn't trying to be fake, but I just understood that, even the coaches that maybe weren't as good as maybe some of the other ones, I knew I was going to learn something from them. Maybe it was something that they were showing or doing that was wrong, and it showed me, maybe what not to do. And sometimes that's, you don't want to say that, but you learn something from everybody. And I tried to take something from every person that kind of acknowledged me or helped me throughout my career. And I think it's just helped me to communicate now, in the media and the radio and do things that you're doing, ask the questions and figure out, what makes people drive and churn and find out more about them. And, it builds the network, the network of friends and relationships that, are helping me now or that have been there, since I started day one in college, that, help me and continue to help me, get where I want to get. It's a next career for me. And I know I have to work hard at it. And I'm going to put the work and the time and put the content out there that I did when I first started playing football. And if I do that, I know there's a high success rate because it happened for me in football. Why can't it happen with me and other things off the field?
Now, when you stopped playing ball, I believe about a year or so ago, how did you feel? Did you feel, because that's something all athletes, no matter how good, no matter how horrible you are, you get to a point where you say, it's time, or you say, hey, you know what? I still got something, I can still do. How did you feel? Was it more so like, hey, there's a new career or a new challenge waiting for me, let me go get it? Or was it more so, nobody's calling you, so let me dabble, let me see what I can do?
Well, I knew that I was the type of tight end that offered a particular niche. I was a dominating blocking tight end, brought leadership, brought a lot of things to the table for the locker room, and I knew that was needed. There were several teams that needed that. And as of last season, when I was training, I had enough phone calls and spoke to several general managers and coaches that led me to believe that there's a chance that I'm going to, be on a team. So, I didn't get signed. It didn't happen. I was in great shape last year. What I do, that blocking mentality is, I still do it now, and I could do it at a high level. And once that didn't happen, about halfway through last season, I knew it was going to be over with. So I decided to close that chapter. And you never go out the way you want, but I know that my career was definitely satisfying. And when I look back, at that time, when I got released with Arizona in that year where I was off, it was a tough time for me. It was unexpected. It was a time that, I thought I was on the team, no questions asked. I never got released. Nothing ever like that happened to me. And I went through a tough time. It was a tough stage in my life. I don't want to say I was depressed, but I had those feelings of just like, now what? What am I doing? Am I done? Am I still playing? What's next for me? And, I got my degree. I have a network. I'm a smart guy, but it's been my structure. It's been everything I've done since high school. And to make those transitions into the next afterlife and you think you got a lot of things there, but it's hard. I mean, it's just, the real world is different than what, I've been a part of, my teammates and my colleagues have done. And those are the ones that I know. And outside of football, I really hadn't been a part of that world per se. And it was a tough transition. 2010 was an eye-opener for me across the board as far as, becoming a better husband, father, financial advisor to myself, creating a different type of budget for a different type of lifestyle. And those are the things that, you always think you're planning for, but, when it hits you, you're really never ready for it. You always think you are doing the right things, but when it's there and it's done and you don't see it, then you're like, oh, it kind of hits you. So when I got that chance, going into 2011, I was just, it was a great deal for me because I really took in so much more my last year with the Chiefs as far as, engaging with fans and the coaches before the game and really, like smelling the air and listening to the Star Spangled Banner and, grabbing the grass and just feeling everything around it, coming out of the tunnel and not just running out. I had purpose. I felt it. I felt the energy, and that was, the best part of getting that chance to do that one more time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about the here and now. Let's talk about, as you said, post the afterlife, if you will. I don't even know where to start. Let's start with Pro Football Talk. Mike Flory, he's another West Virginia guy. Let's talk about how did that opportunity arise for you? How did that happen? Was that just a network thing? Was that a timing thing? Let us share.
I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, I didn't have a strong relationship with Mike, but we were acquaintances. I started football camps in 2006. West Virginia was one of the places I had started them, and his son would come to my camp every year. I'd see him in the stands before he even kind of went big time TV-wise. His site was growing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people gravitating to it. I knew him in that sense, and he knew me obviously from playing and coming back to West Virginia and playing at West Virginia. But there was a time where I would stay engaged with him, let him know, listen, anytime you got something going on the site, he has an online show, I'll come on. I came on for the first time this year, I think in January or February, and that just kind of led to Dan Steer, the guy that oversees everything at NBC Universal, the show, the programming, gave me a call, and he says he usually doesn't normally bring guys in off of someone else telling him, to maybe check this guy out. He likes to do his homework, but he decided to give me a chance. Again, the perception I got was he wasn't expecting much. And I did a few shows. I've been on right now every 2 weeks, about 2 shows in a row since February. I'm on a temp contract. They're actually reevaluating their whole staff, and we're hoping we do something long term with them, which would be great. But right now I'm in the mix, and he's loved what I've done early, and I just want to continue to get better. And what it's done for me is it's opened other doors. Other networks are seeing what I'm doing. I have more demos. ESPN is interested in what I've been doing. Fox is watching. The radio stations. I do a lot of radio. I'm probably known more for radio. Doing the Bucks post and pregame show, and I had my own radio show when I got released in 2010, which kept me busy in the Tampa Bay market. So I was doing different things to kind of prep myself. I went to the NFL broadcast boot camp, where I built relationships with, guys that, the head honchos at ESPN, Fred Gaudelli, that, is the producer for Sunday Night Football. I mean, different people that I was able to engage with from all the networks that I built those relationships with. And now I'm hoping those relationship building things work out where, they give me those opportunities. And, it's a hustle. To me, it's a hustle. I'm a Philly kid. I understand it's hard work and all that stuff part of it, but you got to stay on it. You got to hustle. You got to do as much as you can. I was on the Home Shopping Network. People laugh at me, but
yeah, I was gonna
it was the football, the football fan show, and it was basically all their NFL apparel, and they wanted a credible football guy to come on and engage with their callers, talk about what's going on in the league. Every time I came on the show, the different teams, and I got to do that. It was great. It was one-on-one, national audience, different times all across the country. And I got to talk football with people that, are buying NFL stuff, and I get to, talk up to their team, talk down to their team, mess with them, and all those things is part of the process of getting better, getting good camera work, and just trying to improve myself so that when those chances come, like NBC or possibly ESPN or another network, that I'm ready to go and I can give my best.
Yeah, one of the things that I read that you said was that Carl Lewis told you it's about staying relevant. And
Sure.
I don't care who you are. If you're on Home Shopping Network, you are relevant.
I tell you, it was really transcendent because, Carl Lewis was funny. He didn't know me. He was very blunt. The one thing I knew about Carl Lewis is great athlete, seemed very quiet. When I met him, we had a few cocktails, and he was pretty open and outspoken for a guy. And he basically, when I sat down in a conversation, I don't know you, who, and I didn't take that personally. That's fine. And once we talked, and I told him, well, he's like, oh, that's awesome. And we had similar friends, but he said, listen, he's like, he was asking me, what am I doing now? I said, well, I just retired. He's like, well, listen, remember this. He was telling me about Mike Powell, and it wasn't a knock on Mike Powell, but he said, what do you remember Mike Powell? I said, well, he was the long jump record, right, for a while. He's like, you don't remember anything else about him? Or what? And I said, I really don't. He's like, exactly. He's like, look, you need to stay relevant. Relevant is the key to your success. No matter what sport you've played, once people forget about you, it's over, and you mean nothing to anybody. So I'm on it now. That gave me an alert, and I'm like, man, I got to get on a show. I got to do something now. So that was the term I just, as the hustle, is I got to stay relevant. Twitter, followers, fans, Jets, Bucks, Rams, Cardinals, West Virginia fans, engaging with them, staying relevant, talking about these teams, when they play, what they're doing in the draft, and now getting on TV, doing the shows, doing the radio. Maybe I'm more of a household name in my small radio and TV that I've done now than I was maybe as a player for some people, because when you're seeing a tight end, I wasn't the guy to put up 100 catches a year. I was the guy that did the lunch pail stuff that teams needed. And, now I get to kind of translate that in and let people know, that was important, and other things and other opinions that I might have.
Now, you do the pre and post Bucks game shows. What is that like being on the other side? Because as a player, we watch film. We know what's going on. We can tell. We can break down the games for ourselves. How do you start to be able to communicate that in a way that is not overbearing or, dare I say, obnoxious?
Yep.
On a radio show? How do you do that? Because like you said, you want to stay relevant, and whether it's Home Shopping Network or doing charity events or doing Twitter or whatever, you have to speak the language of the people who are watching you. How do you do that? What are some things that you do?
Well, one thing I try, I always make sure that if I make an opinion or say something about a player, it's relevant as far as what I've seen on tape. Obviously, I look at myself as someone that understands tape, can see tape. I can, people talk about, general managers and personnel, they can't read intangibles about players. That's the hardest thing. I believe that the tape shows you intangible features about players. You have to find it. I see some things on guys that lead me to believe, and without even talking to them, a little bit about how they feel about football. It's not necessarily dumbing it down, but people they want to know my perspective, a pro athlete's perspective. You can bring that to the table with your experiences and the players you've played with and the coaches and the circumstances you've been in. That's intriguing for people. And if you're on point and you're relevant and your information is great and your content is good, people want to listen. And I look at Coach Gruden. I do a lot of work in the film room with him. I watch him, how he works and studies tape, and I see what he's all about. And the things he says on TV might not be the things I hear in those meeting rooms, but he really, fans can relate and hear what he's saying, and they're learning so much stuff. And he's smarter, 10 times smarter than maybe any coach or any regular fan out there. But he's able to bring it to the fans in a way that they understand it. And I think that's what's great about him, and which makes him great. Now how I do that is from a player's perspective. Why would a guy do this? What was his mentality in this situation? And there's a ton of players in media, and a ton of guys do it good, and some of them just talk rhetoric, and that's their gig. But I like to maybe bring both of that to the table, and with my personality and my content, and hopefully people like it. And I've gotten good reviews. I mean, obviously there's people that don't like things said, and that's fine. But I can at least say that if I say something about a player, they might not like it sometimes, but they're going to see that on tape as why I'm saying it, and that's probably what makes it valid, I guess.
Hey, well, nothing wrong with that. Now let's what you talked about Gruden. You talked about like I said, Baxter and Vinny Testaverde. What are some of the let me not say non-football, but what are some of your role models? Obviously, you had football role models, guys that you wanted to be like, guys that you wanted to block like. What about now? Now that you're essentially your own front man, you have to think ahead as far as what you want to do? Who do you model yourself after? What books do you read? Who are you saying, you know what? If I can learn that skill, I can get to where trying to get to a little bit sooner.
1 second, real quick.
Uh-huh.
Be a little light back here. Okay. There's a bunch of people. I mean, there are going to be names that people aren't going to know, but they're a former player, a colleague of mine, one of my best friends, Ryan Neese, former linebacker for the Bucks and the Detroit Lions, one of the most giving, humble people in the Tampa Bay area as far as charities are concerned and foundations are concerned. His wealth of knowledge, his ability, his business sense, the people that he's around, he sets the bar as far as, how to be a good person and to be around good people. And, you see that, you feel that when you're in his presence. That's something that, that's the kind of guy I want to be like. I think the one thing is, for me is, there's a lot of people I want to be like. There's a lot of people on TV I want to be like. There's a lot of people in business I want to be like. But for me, it's, I got to be me. So how can I pull one or two things out of all these people and put it into my persona and put it into my knowledge? And those are the things I remember growing and trying to, really understand. I mean, I look up to a lot of people. I really do. But, at the end of the day, I want to be me. I want to be the person, that people look up to, on and off the field and on and off the camera. I work with the youth through my camps. I do a lot of things that, from outside that people don't know about, and dealing with the youth and trying to, help them. And it's not just football. It's about life. It's about being a good person, being a kid with high character, how those things can help build you and give you those opportunities, moving down the road. And, I think it's important. I love doing it. It's a one-man show for me. I don't have anybody, running the camps. I do all the logistics. I have my wife who helps me on camp day, and people that help me on camp day, and people that sponsors that help out. But I'm the one calling. I'm the one that wants to speak to them. I want them to know who they're dealing with. I'm the one setting the registration up. I'm the one sending the emails out. Is it time consuming and silly for me maybe to do all that? Yeah, it's a lot of hours. But normally, someone would hire people to do that, and I just show up at the camp and do my thing and whatever. And it's more than that. Those things teach me values about working hard and setting a business up and stuff like that. So those are all things that you can teach yourself. And who do you learn that from? Sometimes you got to learn from your own faults and mistakes. And trust me, I've made plenty of them that I can learn from, and that's helped me. Because I've gotten better from them, and that's the main thing, I guess for me is, to try to make me that good person is learning from my mistakes.
I mean, there's a lot of truth in that, a lot of knowledge in that. Now let's focus on your camp. You brought it up. That was the next thing I was going to bring up. Your camp. I mean, you tell us what do you focus on in your camp?
Well, yeah, I have a camp. I used to have several camps in West Virginia, Florida, Philly. Right now I do 2 camps. My main camp is in Philadelphia, my old high school, Monsignor Bonner High School. It's been going on since 2006. It's basically kids grades 1st through 8th. It's my best turnout. We average about 125, 145 kids a year. And it's basically, teaching kids, whether they're well-groomed football players or the kids that never have done it before. They come out and they get to learn all the positions. They get to learn everything about each position that we could possibly give them over 3 days and 6 hours. And it's a lot of information, a lot of stuff. And from a football sense, they get a lot. And, they come out of there knowing more. And the best part about it is I bring NFL players in, over the years that, names like Larry Fitzgerald, Orlando Pace, Torrey Holt, Chad Pennington, Mark Bolger, Luke Pettigrew. I mean, tons of guys that come in and work with these kids. And then the most important thing for me is at lunchtime, we basically do a mentoring ship, I guess, a speech part where, each player shares something unique in their life that made them a better person, or someone that, a story about someone that helped them grow, or maybe it was a a difficult time were in their life that made them stronger and changed. And, we get so many different demographics of kids at the camp. One of those guys are going to relate to what one of these players are talking about. And every year there's great speeches, and, the kids really do listen. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes our parents and teachers go in deaf ears, like my kids do when I speak, to them and tell them things, and these kids look up and listen to athletes. And, I enjoy and embrace being a role model, and I think it's important. It's important for me. That camp is going to be July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I also have my camp down here where I live in Tampa Bay. This is our 3rd year for that one, and that's grown exponentially. Really involved in this area that I'm in with the youth football programs, the flag football programs, and a lot of these kids come out, and it's the same thing. We get a ton of Buccaneers out here every single year working with the kids. We got a lot of great sponsors involved, and a lot of helping hands, which is great. And that's what it's all about. And just try to build upon it and try to do it as long as I can until I'm not relevant anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, is there anything else that you're working on as far? I mean, obviously you're doing radio, you're doing NBC Pro Football Talk. I mean, what else? Is there anything else that you're working on or mid to long term that you're trying to do? Is there anything you're trying to go back to school for? Sorry, is it what's on the prospectus for Anthony Becht?
Well, right now, it's media stuff. I mean, I'm not going to go back to school, get my master's. I'm kind of done with the book stuff, and I want to have more platforms to speak and do more insight. I'm trying to maybe develop a website, a daily half-hour show, where I could speak about daily rants, kind of what we do on Pro Football Talk, but it would just be my opinions on everything. And, just another way to engage. And, radio, trying to do some more and engage with the fans through radio. I love all the different platforms, but to me, it's just, head down and grind, continue to just take advantage of my opportunities, meet more people, interact with more people, get more ideas. And, if they're good for me, I'll do it. If not, I move on. So, I'm gonna test this TV and radio thing out, and I'm gonna give it my all and see where it leads me. My goals are big. I want to be, that guy, that we're all fixated on every single Sunday or during the week. Can I be that guy? Absolutely. From a namesake today, maybe I'm not, necessarily Dan Marino or Shannon Sharp, but there are guys that get up because of their content and what they say and what they know, and that's the route I'm going. And, we'll see how it turns out here, starting this year and moving forward.
Man, there's nothing wrong with having a big goal. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's how we reach to most of our goals. That's good to hear. I think that's it, man.
We covered it all.
we've covered it all. I appreciate your time. And after we stop recording, I have some things I want to ask you about.
No doubt.
But Anthony Becht, I appreciate you coming on the show, and have a great night.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Anthony_Becht on Twitter. Check it out. Love to get some new followers.
No doubt. Thank you.
See ya.